So yeah, didn't get to execute any of our big election plans, what with real life and whatnot getting in the way, but I wanted to take this opportunity as we hit the home stretch on this election thing to throw in my 2 cents. Before I do that, however, we've made some changes here at Elgin 2030 that deserve some attention. Now, when I began this little show, I thought that the relationship between Mayor Potter and city manager was something akin to the "You complete me" line from Jerry Maguire. I imagined a scene with Potter holding a Tupperware party or whatever, city manager bursting in, looking across the room at him and saying, "You complete me," while young Councilman Priggs watched on, excited that he was getting a new dad. Now, I was approached by someone I have a lot of respect for and who I trust implicitly, who told me something to the effect of, "I think how you portray his puppet is hilarious, but that's not really their relationship." His explanation was like the description of a ventriloquist and a puppet. I didn't know what to do with that at the time, so I waited for another sign to prove or disprove what I had just been told. That sign came in the form of the blizzard in February, where city manager personally worked the night with his public works crew to make sure that the city wouldn't be paralyzed once things had stopped. I know firsthand, as I was coming back from a new job a day or two later, through towns that were paralyzed. And once I hit Elgin, it was like being in a completely different climate. So, for everything I've heard, and for that act of responsibility to the people of Elgin, I have changed him from Robin the Boy Wonder to further along in Dick Grayson's crime-fighting career when he became Nightwing. Kick-ass! Put on your Sunday best, kids! We're going to Sears! Now, the other change, and believe me when I say that this is a big one for me, is something I saw during the last committee of the whole meeting where, and I still can't believe I'm going to do this, my biggest fan, Councilman Priggs, showed not only backbone and free thought, but some of the best and most lucid counterpoint I've ever seen come from this council. The issue is a deal that was brought to the committee, basically expanding the senior center to the building next door, which would become some sort of activity center or something. Now, Priggs didn't have any problem doing something like that for the seniors. He said, and I agree, that helping them expand their operation was not only important for Elgin, it is necessary and will become more so as time goes on and our retired population grows. What Priggs stood up to was the idea that Mayor Potter and Councilman Gollum weren't bringing an idea to the council. They were bringing a negotiated deal to the council immediately before an election they were both running in for a rubber stamp of approval. What Priggs asked for was to table the discussion until after the election instead of moving the city into a 3-year commitment with an organization that already has an almost $2 million budget. I also have to throw in that one of the most amazing comments came from Firestorm, the nuclear man, when he said that the fire department has had code issues with the building that Potter wants to push the seniors into. So before he could vote to approve, he'd have to make sure that they weren't leasing a death trap to the organization. The discussion that Priggs started at that meeting is exactly the sort of wrangling this city needs. I've said it before. It's not follow the leader up there, it's king of the hill. And even though he and I don't always see eye to eye, I have elevated him from his short portrayal as Tor Johnson, the monster from Plan 9 from Outer Space, to Lex Luthor. A villain? Yes, but sometimes an anti-hero, and one of the most interesting and complex characters in all of comicdom. Well done, Priggs. Plain and simple. Thank you, Tony. Your death shall be quick and painless. Of course, watching that meeting reminded me of how much Potter's body betrays him when he's taken by surprise or frustrated because he turns into any cartoon character that eats some hot sauce. Honestly, I feel sorry for him. I also have a tendency to blush when I'm caught off guard. I think a lot of people do, but Potter looks like he's going to spontaneously explode or turn into Ghost Rider when people challenge him. Do as you're told, bitches! And that leads me to the subject I know everyone tuned in for, our coverage of the Elgin Council Election 2011! Man, there's a lot to talk about. My apologies to everyone running for council seats. I just haven't had the time to get those interviews done. But to my viewers, if you are looking for information on the candidates, you can get a ton of information over at www.elginite.org. RS, who runs that site, has done an excellent job of asking for the candidates' opinions and overall outlook on what they would do as council people. Check out the information and make sure you vote on purpose. The last thing we need in Elgin is the devil you know sort of strategy. Let's start small. I'm sure you've seen the Mayor Potter signs all around town. I think his color choice was really interesting, almost suggestive. A huge field of red with some white text. The funny thing is that Warren's signs are also a huge field of red with white text. Now, I'm not sure what that conversation was, but Warren, did you really agree to a design that makes your signs look almost exactly like Potter's signs? How was that sold to you? Do people even know you're running? Because there's an obvious attempt at social engineering and subliminal advertising. A vote for red is a vote for Potter. But what else does the color red represent? Well, danger, stop signs, caution, warning. What if I were to ask you to look at this and ask you what the color red means here? So who are these guys trying to attract? Now, the color red is also classically used to represent Satan. This last week, there was a little smear campaign trying to make Captain seem like he was prejudiced against the Latino population in Elgin, which is so utterly stupid and ridiculous that I decided to make my own smear campaign. A vote for Potter or Warren is a vote for Satan. Potter and Warren's people couldn't be reached for comment, but for the first time ever on any political blog, ladies and gentlemen, the morning star himself, Satan.
Thanks for having me, Tony. I love your show.
Thanks, Satan. What do you think of Potter and Warren trying to steal some of your moves?
Oh, these fucking guys. Tell you what, if I had a dime for every time some politician tries to pull something over on the common man, that's a lot of tacos, my friend.
Yeah,
that would be like tacos for life. I'm immortal.
Well, that's what
Beef tacos. I don't go for that goat meat version. Too close to home, know what I mean?
So you aren't officially part of the Potter strategy to make the backroom deals and rush them through council votes as being the best bet for Elgin citizens?
No. Sounds like me. Oh, you know what? I bet it's that Snarf guy from Thundercats. That guy is hilarious. Saddam, hand me that water.
So is it okay that I start a campaign that says a vote for Potter is a vote for Satan?
Sure, knock yourself out. Catch you on the flip-flop.
Satan, everybody. You know, Potter's campaign is all about looking at what he's done, so let's talk about what he's done. And to do that, I need to talk about Otter Creek. Otter Creek is a relatively new development in Elgin that was part of Shock's We Need More Homes for Affluent White People initiative. Honestly, there's a newspaper article from that time where he's defending the construction of new upper-middle-class homes in Elgin. The problem with that came in the form of the problem of how to supply these new hypothetical residents with water and sewer services, since there wasn't an existing system in place in the area. Now, the city took out a bond based on the projected home sales for that neighborhood. From the original figure, let's say it was 800 homes. Only 200 have been built and sold. That neighborhood right now has between 300 and 500 residents. Of course, when the city didn't sell the rest of the homes, the contractor stopped building, but since the original bond for water and sewer was based on the total amount of projected sales, there was a payment expected based on that amount. So what's the bottom line? The bottom line is that residents there pay an extra $20 or $30 a month, not for water usage, but for the bond that the mayor took out to finance water and sewer service to that neighborhood. And this is the fun bit. That bond comes due in 2015. So I'm guessing you won't find that in any of his campaign speeches or glad-handing. Now, as of this moment in time, 40% of the city's water budget and 50% of the sewer budget go to debt services. That money is literally flushed down the drain because of what this mayor has accomplished. Now, you may ask, what side was Captain America on? How did he vote? The problem is that Councilman Captain wasn't on the council yet. All of these shenanigans happened before he was elected. Another interesting thing is that senior city staff did not recommend this development, probably for these very same reasons. It's just interesting how many times things are pushed through now with the excuse that staff recommends it. The mayor himself used that excuse when grant money was recently decided upon. Well, staff has done all the research. I figure we could go on with the recommendations of people paid to look at these things and do what you're told, bitches. Don't make me turn red. Now, if you do some digging into the mayor's campaign, you will also see, as I have pointed out, that there are a large representation of out-of-town builders and development companies. Now, what I've discovered is that Illinois is going to affect some changes in building density and design that would affect these companies. And since we're a home rule unit, that can effectively decide our own rules on our own. Isn't it interesting that development companies would be trying to court Potter's favor? Let me personally ask you this, Potter. Why is it, in all these years you've been mayor, you haven't been able to change the reputation of Elgin outside the city limits? What have you done to help change our image? On one hand, you've hired a city manager who knows how to run a city and knows who to put in leadership positions. Good for you. But inner politics and bureaucracy are his headache. Your headache should have been challenging the perception of Elgin. It's not the 80s anymore. But for all the time that's passed, I still hear the same crap about our city. That's your fault. But I guess you need to keep that social imbalance in place to keep hold of your power. Look, people, don't vote for who I like. Don't vote for who you're told to like by people you know. Look at the real issues in this city and realize that we need a change. We need more moments where Priggs stands up and kicks some ass. We need the city manager to take every opportunity to wring every ounce of our budget and put the right people into the right jobs. And we need a mayor who lets the city manager do that without fear that he's going to have some pulling the strings or to make him talk. Elgin needs a change to stand up in the 21st century among the great cities of the world. Don't tell me that you will vote for who I think is best. Just tell me you agree with me and vote. See you next time, Elgin.